Добрый день, дорогие друзья! Я надеюсь, меня хорошо слышно, видно, и я рада вас поприветствовать на новом вебинаре, который проходит в наш очередной традиционный вторник и посвящен Страноведению России. И сегодня я с вами, Соловьева Дарья Александровна, проведу вебинар на тему «В космос». Я думаю, вы все знаете, почему. Давайте пока что все подключаются, вы поставите плюсики в чат, чтобы я видела, что вы со мной, что вы уже присоединились и что вы готовы начать работу. И я пока что мы начинаем, хотела бы рассказать о том, что по прохождению курсов вот этих вебинаров, да, мы начали с вами в феврале и закончим через, получается, 2 недели. Будет еще 2 вебинара после этого. И по прохождению этих курсов планируется предоставить вам возможность получить сертификат. Сертификат можно будет получить, пройдя небольшой тестик, совсем маленький, там всего 10 вопросов. И я думаю, что скоро я смогу вам рассказать, где именно будет этот тестик и как именно можно получить сертификат, что нужно сделать с этим тестом. А теперь давайте начнем. И сейчас мы начнем говорить на английском, так как этот урок, это занятие, вебинар посвящен английскому языку. And let's speak English. So, I think that you all know the answer to this question. What was the day yesterday? I did not say yet, but you can write your ideas into the chat. So, if you have any ideas, please write them. And I'll show you the right answer. So what was at the 12th of April? Oh, I'm glad to see you in the chat. And now, let's see the answer. Yesterday was the World Aviation and Cosmonautics Day. And I think that you've already heard a lot about this day, about the space and space programs, about astronauts. But now let's read a little bit more about it. But first of all, before we start, let's read a short piece of information. On the 12th of April, in 1961, so 60 years ago exactly, for the first time ever, mankind went beyond the limits of the home planet and entered a new space age. It is a day when the first ever human spaceflight of Yuri Gagarin laid a foundation for the age of space exploration. Красивый язык, да? Let's read some words. Mankind, человечество, mankind, went beyond the limits, beyond, за границы нашей домашней планеты, нашего дома. Yes, and entered a new space age. So it's a wonderful language. Let's do the next task now. Look at this spidergram. It's like planets, a lot of planets. And you see the space in the center. And you can see other words presented in this spidergram. But do you have more ideas? Can you write your ideas, words related to space, into the chat? Please write your ideas. You can see that I've got spacecraft. Spacecraft means космический корабль, spacecraft, или satellite, спутник. Orbit, орбита, или ходить по орбите, да, вращаться по орбите, to orbit. Celestial body or celestial bodies, небесные тела, all of the planets, comets, and so on. Stars, all of them are celestial bodies. Please write your ideas into the chat and we'll move on. Okay, thanks a lot for your ideas. And now let's read a text about 7 Soviet space firsts. Первые советские космические вещи, да, первые достижения. Maybe you know something about it, and the other things may be new for you. So let's find out what you already know and what's new for you. So the first part of this text is about the first artificial Earth satellite, спутник. Artificial, искусственный. Искусственный спутник, да, Земли. So let's read it. The first artificial satellite was Sputnik 1, launched by the Soviet Union on the 4th of October in 1957. The small satellite stayed in orbit for 3 months, orbiting the planet about once every 96 minutes. Sputnik 1 could be seen from Earth. Its launch became a revolution not only in the world of space exploration, but many other branches of science as well. This in turn triggered the space race between the Soviet Union and the United States. So let's look at the words. So the first artificial satellite, искусственный спутник, as we've already said, launched by the Soviet Union. Запущенный, to launch means запускать что-то. Orbiting the planet, то есть вращаясь по орбите, orbiting the planet. You can see how this word is used as a verb, да, в качестве глагола. Orbiting the planet. And then you can see the word launch again. In the first paragraph here, you can see it used as a verb, запускать. And here it is a noun, уже существительное, запуск. Its launch became a revolution. Его запуск стал революцией. And the next word, this in turn triggered. That triggered, как бы запустила, стала триггером. Мы сейчас также говорим по-русски, стала триггером, запустила. The space race, космическую гонку. So let's read the next part. First animals to successfully orbit the Earth, белка and стрелка. During the 1950s and 1960s, the Soviet space program used dogs for suborbital and orbital space flights to determine whether human spaceflight was feasible. Laika became the first living Earth-born creature in orbit, aboard Sputnik 2 on the 3rd of November in 1957. But she died between 5 and 7 hours into the flight from stress and overheating. How sad. And after Laika, the Soviet Union sent 2 more dogs, Belka and Strelka, into space on the 19th of August in 1960. The animals were the first to actually orbit and return alive. So the first dog died in space, but then Belka and Strelka orbited the Earth, да, прошли по орбите Земли, and returned alive, вернулись живыми. Let's look at these words. You can see suborbital and orbital. These are the words derived from orbit, да? Слова, произошедшие от слова orbit, то есть орбитальный, да, и суборбитальный. То есть не полностью делается поворот вокруг Земли. And to determine means to understand, to find out, да, понять, разузнать. Was feasible, выполнимый. They wanted to understand whether a person can go to space. Is it possible? Yes. Is it feasible? And Laika was aboard Sputnik 2. On the board. Number 2, on the board, aboard. And let's read the next piece of this text. The first on the moon, Luna 2 probe. Luna 2, or Luna 2, as it's Russian, yes, Russian, Luna 2, was the 6th of the Soviet Union's Luna program spacecraft launched to the moon on the 12th of September in 1959 by a rocket. It was the first spacecraft to reach the moon and the first human-made object to make contact with another celestial body. So you can see that spacecraft, да, космический корабль, and celestial body, we've discussed it at the beginning of our class, космическое тело, космическое небесное тело, можно сказать. And it was Luna 2, you can see it in this picture, and it is a rocket with this spacecraft, so it's what we call Luna 2, and it is a rocket. And you can also see a very interesting word, human-made, то есть сделанный человеком, произведенный человеком. And the next text. First man in space, Yuri Gagarin. I think that you know a lot about him, so it's just a short piece of information that you can then tell your English-speaking friends. So let's start. On the 12th of April in 1961, cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin circled Earth one time in a Vostok spacecraft before ejecting 23,000 feet above the planet and parachuting safely down. Gagarin's flight was the shortest manned mission in space history, lasting just 108 minutes from takeoff to touchdown. So, Yuri Gagarin was cosmonaut, and his first flight was on the 12th of April in 1961. So that's why we celebrated the Cosmonautics Day yesterday, right? So it was a celebration because of this event. And it's a very interesting information that he ejected 23,000 feet above the planet. Ejecting. Это значит, он как бы катапультировался. To eject, значит выбрасывать что-то или даже изгонять. Например, можно кого-то изгнать из школы. To eject. Выбросить, да? Вышвырнуть. I think that it's not you. It's not you. You are good students. And this flight, да, этот полет, was the shortest manned mission. Manned, значит, управляемый, пилотируемая миссия in space history. And it lasted just 108 minutes from takeoff, от взлета, from takeoff to touchdown, да? Take-off, значит, взлетать, и touchdown, приземляться, да, как бы touch, трогать, down, внизу, когда самолет или что-то приземляется, it's called touchdown. And let's read the next passage. And the next passage is about the first woman in space, Валентина Терешкова. She was the first and youngest woman to have flown in space with a solo mission on the Vostok 6 on the 16th of June in 1963. She orbited the Earth 48 times, spent almost 3 days in space, and remains the only woman to have been on a solo space mission. It's a wonderful woman, right? She orbited the Earth 48 times. Orbited the Earth 48 times and spent 3 days in space. And you can see that she's the only woman still. No one did it after her. She's the only woman to have been on a solo space mission. And the next passage is about the first spacewalk and Alexei Leonov. How can we translate spacewalk? Как можно перевести spacewalk? Если у вас есть какие-то идеи, подумайте. А сейчас мы прочитаем, и я думаю, что сразу будет понятно. So, Leonov had actually expected to become a professional artist, but his life took a very different turn, and he became a key player in the space race. On the 18th of March in 1965, he became the first person to conduct a spacewalk, exiting the capsule during the Voskhod 2 mission for 12 minutes and 9 seconds. Is it clear now? Spacewalk. He exited the capsule. Он вышел из капсулы, да, из судна. And he was in the outer space, в открытом космосе. And he conducted a spacewalk. We can translate it as выход в открытый космос. And to conduct means произвести. Произвести выход в открытый космос. В данном случае to conduct a spacewalk. You can see here is his painting. He could be an artist. And let's go. Let's read the last piece of this text, the last passage. The first remote-controlled rover on another celestial body, Lunokhod 1. Lunokhod 1 was the first of 2 robotic lunar rovers landed on the moon by the Soviet Union as part of its Lunokhod program. Lunokhod 1 was the first remote-controlled rover to freely move across the surface of an astronomical object beyond the Earth. It was also the first wheeled craft on another celestial body. We can translate lunar rover as Lunokhod. That's how they call it in England, lunar rover. But Lunokhod is a Russian word, да? Это имя собственное, в данном случае Lunokhod. And lunar rover, это как оно называется по-английски. And remote-controlled robot, remote-controlled, то есть управляемый из как бы на расстоянии, управляемый на расстоянии. Moved across the surface, по поверхности, across the surface of an astronomical object beyond the Earth. Да? Мы уже говорили, что beyond это за пределами. And it was the first wheeled craft. Можно использовать craft в данном случае значение механизм какой-то, приспособление. And wheeled means that it has wheels. So these are wheels. So it was the first wheeled craft on another celestial body, на другом небесном теле. And let's look what we've read. We've read about the first artificial Earth satellite, Sputnik, about Белка, Стрелка, and Laika, the first dogs in the space, about Luna 2 probe. We've also read about Yuri Gagarin, Valentina Tereshkova, and Alexei Leon. And we've read about the first remote-controlled rover, Lunokhod 1. And now, let's check how well you remember the facts. Let's start with these people. Match the facts with the pictures, with the names, please. Let's read the first fact. Wanted to become a professional artist. Who wanted to become a professional artist? The second fact. His or her flight was the shortest manned mission in space history. And the third fact. He or she orbited the Earth 48 times and spent almost 3 days in space. So, I give you 20 seconds to think, and let's see the answers. So, the first fact, wanted to become a professional artist. Alexei Leonov. It's easy because you can see a picture, his painting in his hand. And the second fact, his or her flight was the shortest manned mission in space history. It was about Yuri Gagarin. And the last fact is about the last person here, Valentina Tereshkova, but she was the first woman in space. And now let's move to the next task. Here you can see some words. Celestial body, launch, orbit, touchdown, triggered, eject, satellite, takeoffs, and abort. And you can see 9 sentences. Your task is to fill in the gaps in these sentences with the words given in this task. So let's read the first sentence. Let's do it together. The of a ship was a big occasion. Что-то корабля было большим событием. A big occasion. Большое событие. Maybe it's difficult to do the first one, so let's read the second. The shuttle can remain in around the Earth for up to 9 days. Шаттл может оставаться на чем-то вокруг Земли до 9 дней. Smoke, the fire alarm. Smoke, да, то есть дым. Что-то сделал с fire alarm. Сигнализация, пожарная сигнализация. Наверное, дым вызвал, да, пожарную сигнализацию. The moon is of the earth. Луна – это Земли. The train about to leave. All. Да? Поезд вот-вот уйдет. The safety invention will the pilot from burning plane. Изобретение, связанное с безопасностью, да, safety invention, что-то сделает с пилотом из горящего самолета, from burning plane. Night and landings are banned at this airport. Ночные что-то и посадки запрещены, are banned at this airport, да, запрещены, banned. High winds delayed the space shuttles. Сильные ветра отложили что-то у космического шаттла, да? Что-то связанное с космическим шаттлом. And the last one, the moon is a... Луна это. So, let's come back to the first sentence. The of a ship was a big occasion. The launch of a ship was a big occasion. Запуск корабля, да? And ship can be also a spaceship, да? Может быть не просто корабль, может быть космический корабль. The shuttle can remain in orbit around the Earth for up to 9 days. Шаттл может оставаться на орбите Земли. Да? Smoke. Look at these words. Triggered. Вызвала, да? Мы говорили, что trigger это как стало триггером, вызвало что-то, да? Дым вызвал пожарную сигнализацию. The moon is a satellite of the Earth. Спутник, да? Луна – это спутник Земли. The train's about to leave. All aboard. Все на борт. All aboard. And the next one, the safety invention will eject the pilot from burning plane. Мы говорили, что eject – это выбрасывать, да? Как бы вышвыривать. И в данном случае катапультировать, эвакуировать, катапультировать пилота из горящего самолета. And the next one. Night, and landings. Посадки, landings. Поэтому мы уже не можем использовать touchdown, потому что touchdown and landing is the same thing. So night, takeoffs and landings. Взлеты и посадки are banned in this airport. And the next one is quite easy now. High winds delay the space shuttle's touchdown, посадку. And the next one, the moon is a celestial body. То есть Луна – это небесное тело. And now let's move to the next task. It is actually the last task today, and it's short. It's quite short. This task is to fill in the gaps with the correct form of the verb in brackets. Да, в скобочках in brackets. The satellite, the Earth every 48 hours. You can see a hint here, a clue, да, подсказка, a clue, every 48 hours. So the satellite does it every 48 hours. Think what you can put here, what you can write here. And now let's see the answer. The satellite orbits the Earth every 48 hours because it does it every time, always. That's why we use present simple, да? And it's it. Третье лицо, единственное число, orbits. The next one. We, in our helicopter for about 45 minutes. На протяжении 45 минут. Just like our lesson. At school. Not here, but at school. So we, the Earth, in our helicopter for about 45 minutes. You've got a clue here. For about 45 minutes. That's why we'll use which tense. Let's see the answer now. We had been orbiting. Or you can say we have been orbiting. Depends. It's not a mistake. These are different variants. We have been orbiting or we had been orbiting. The next one. She's trying a new career as a singer. Запустить новую карьеру как певица. Да? And here you can see to launch, not as, не как выпустить куда-то в космос, да, а to launch это как начать карьеру. Начать карьеру. So, she's trying, let's see the answer, to launch a new career as a singer. That's why we have trying, да, пытается, старается, to launch. After trying, we need to and infinitive. And the next one. It's been 3 years since from his last high school. And here you can see to eject, да, как вышвырнули его из школы. Уже 3 года, как его вышвырнули из школы. Старшей школы, не средней. What do we need here? Let's think. And let's see the answer in 5 seconds. Has been ejected. It's been 3 years since he has been ejected. Да, потому что в первой части у нас present perfect, и тут тоже present perfect, но в пассиве, да, пассивный залог. Has been ejected. And the last one. By the time the police arrived, the man pay attention. Fly is an irregular verb. Да? Fly — это неправильный глагол. The man как бы уже, когда приехала полиция, мужчины уже смылись. Да? То есть они ушли, да, убежали, улетели раньше, чем приехала полиция. So this event was the first, and this was the second. Let's see the answer. Had flown. We can say had already flown. Уже, да, ушли, убежали. And now, let's see the results of our lesson. What we've learned today. Today we've learned about some facts from our history, from our space history. And let's dig what we've learned today. The first artificial Earth satellite. Have we read about it? Yes, we have. About Белка и Стрелка, Luna 2, Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, Валентина Терешкова, the first woman in space, Алексей Леонов and his spacewalk, and Lunokhod 1. We've read a lot today, and I hope that it was very interesting for you to know something, especially in English, and now you can tell a lot of things about space to your English-speaking friends, to your pen pals, for example. And see you next week, in a week's time from now, and I will be glad to answer the questions. Да? Я буду рада ответить на ваши вопросы. Увидимся через неделю. И спасибо всем за внимание. Пишите, пожалуйста, свои ответы в чат. Работайте. И еще раз напоминаю, что по прохождению этих вебинаров вы можете пройти тест через 2 недели и получить сертификат. Thanks a lot and see you next week.